Hello, my G's. I hope you guys are doing great. I hope you've turned off your Xbox and you're ready to get to work. So I'm going to show you how to make a white noise sweep today, a very professional sounding one. It's something that I put in all of my tracks pretty much. It doesn't have to be such an audible sound, but what it does is it will always create a really great transition in no matter what song you're working on, no matter what genre. Even if you place it very low in the background, you can't even hear it. What it's going to do is it's going to help you with the energy shifting between sections. So there's really no place where a white noise sweep doesn't really fit. You're providing that you just blend it in into the background well enough, you can use it everywhere, you know? So I use them in all of my tracks, and I always make them myself because I really like to have control over how it sounds exactly. And different white noise sweeps can be good for different effects. You know, you can have different types of white noise sweeps, and so I don't really like to use samples because I want full control of what my white noise sweep is going to sound like. There's a lot of things in life that you can't control, but there's one thing that you can control, and that is exactly how your white noise sweep will sound. So there's no excuse to not make your own. Here's one that I've made, and it's a very clean, professional sounding one in my opinion. The white noise sweep that we're working on, it might be quite low volume to hear, so make sure you got your headphones turned up. But that is the nature of the sound, you know. It's not going to be this loud, overly powerful sound, you know. So here it is anyway. All right, so it's quite natural. It's got a bit of a fluttery movement and it's got a nice up and down. And you can see even in the waveform, when you bounce your one out, it should look something like that for a nice transitional white noise sweep. Then what you can do is you can use parts of it, you can chop it up, you know, you can use just the riser, and then you can cut. So sometimes I'll use that in a composition, and sometimes I'll just use the impact. You know, fading the ends of the audio file a little bit as well, so it's not a click. But Tom, can you sorry, I said can you turn your Xbox off for the tutorial? Is that all right? Can you play your Call of Duty game later? Oh, thanks, Tom. All right, so yeah, basically, sorry about Tom's always doing that. Yeah, so now let's get into how to make it in Vital, right? I'm going to go over all the details, but you can pretty much figure it out yourself, I would imagine. We're only going to use white noise. I've called it the wonderfully white noise, the wonderfully white sweep. All right, so we're just using white noise. We're using two LFOs, one to control the main movement over the 4 bars, and one to create a fluttering effect that comes in and out. Okay. So we start off with, let me turn off the effects for a moment. I have used all of the effects pretty much, apart from the distortion, all in a very, very subtle way. Okay, so we'll start off with the white noise on the level. So this is the main movement. White noise up and down. So I've curved the first part of this triangle a little bit, and then the second part of the triangle I've curved it very extremely. So it kind of shuts off quite quickly, and but we're going to have some delay and reverb so that when it gets to that impact point, it's going to have a bit more of a burst of noise. But in general, the main part to the sound, you know, it cuts off quite nice and quickly, you know. All right, so the next thing is to first then take out the low end of the white noise. So I've got a high pass filter at around 3000, so everything below that's taken out, but it's a smooth slope. All right, then next we've got another filter, and this is going, so it's in series, so it comes after the first filter. So we're just having the input from filter 1, and here I'm starting to do my fluttery movement. And what I've done for this is I've just put on another high pass, but I've made it I've made it spin backwards in the cutoff a bit. I haven't mixed it all the way in, and the amount that I'm mixing the effect is also being modulated by the top LFO, by the first main one here. But basically, we have this fluttering effect, which I've controlled by the seconds here. So it starts off at 0.087 seconds, right? And I modulate the speed, so you can hear it actually gets slower towards the top. So it starts off fast, and then it gets slow right at the top of the LFO1, and then it speeds up again as it gets back down to the bottom. That's just so I could make the boring upward riser part a bit more interesting. Then when you get to the impact point, it kind of goes neutral, and it's kind of there's not too much crazy movement. And then it finishes with like a little bit of a fast movement again, just to make it a bit more unpredictable. Okay. And so, like I mentioned, I modulate the speed of that flutter effect. Okay. So the flutter is being created by the filter movement, yeah, not the volume. You could create it using the volume of the white noise as well. You could have a separate LFO on the level to do the flutter. That would also work. Or you could do a tremolo, like panning, to get the flutter to work. You know, there's different ways to achieve that fluttering sound. But yeah, the other thing is that the mix knob, I also put that on the LFO. So it actually, you actually have less of the flutter when it gets to the top. So it's, like I kind of mentioned, you have more of that movement at the beginning and the end. And that's because I mix it off as the LFO1 comes to the top here, you know? You see the line here comes up where the filter mix goes back to sort of zero, so there's not so much of this high pass filter happening. All right, so that's basically everything I think I've covered for the first page in Vital. So then in the effects then, yeah, no, I've probably put a little bit of movement on a couple of things. Yeah, the compressor, maybe something else as well, but mostly the effects are quite static. So the chorus, firstly. Yeah, put a bit of a movement into the whole white noise, bit of extra stereo spread, around 12%. Bit of extra pitching kind of movement with the flanger. Gives it like a little metallic edge, a bit of a weirdness. I don't want it to be completely pure white noise. I like to have little little artifacts of weirdness in the sample. So that's why I use a bit of the chorus and the flanger at 10% only though. Then the compressor, I use this in the classic sense, how I always use it in Vital, which is to turn up the attack and the release down and make it into this kind of distortion sound. So it actually becomes just really loud. It's sort of it's almost, yeah, boosting the brightness on the whole sound. And I use this compressor in such a way where I'm actually tracking the mix to the LFO1. So I'm actually exaggerating the main volume kind of movement using the compressor. So it becomes a little bit louder. Yeah, so that when the mix on the compressor is higher, you have this brightness boost. So I'm tracking the brightness boost to follow the LFO, you know, so it's following the dynamic. All right. Then a little bit of a delay. This is about 20%, 16th notes dotted and 16th notes triplets on a ping pong effect. Yeah, it just adds a little bit of a extra length, especially when you'll hear it better when you get to the impact. If I turn it up for you a bit more, it just makes that impact tail off a bit longer, you know. But like I said, I've left it about 20% here. Similar thing with the reverb now, but the reverb also gives the sound a greater character at 30%. I've just turned up the size and the time. And now it's got a really nice natural sound on it, and it's imperative to use reverb, in my opinion, on white noise sweeps. They should be sort of, in my opinion, like almost 50-50, like 50% effects and 50% dry white noise. Like if you, or it could be more, to be fair. Depends how much in the background you want to push them. But that's part of when you're designing the white noise sweeps yourself, you get to control that. So like the more reverb you put on, the more washed out and in the background it will be. But generally you kind of want that. So yeah, you can go quite high with the reverb. I could go even higher here, but I've left it about 30%. It's already quite nice around there. And it's got a really nice tail on the end of the sound there as well now. So next, just a couple of things. Equalizer, I've just EQ'd out the low end again, just to make sure there's no extra rumble down there I don't need, going up to around 1K. Then a little bit of a phaser as well. This is similar to the flanger, just providing some random kind of artifacts into the sound, some extra pitch kind of weirdness. Just to leave it around 10% or so. And then finally, the filter again. This one is another high pass, but did I put any movement on? Yeah, I put a bit of movement on the LFO1. So it actually starts off a bit higher. So the first part of the sound, I've cut out a bit of low end. And then as you get to the top, the impact, a little bit more low end comes back in. So it's just very subtle, but it makes the impact point a bit fuller than the rest of the sound. So you see that where the filter like gives you a little bit more low end as you get to the middle point of the LFO. This was a last minute kind of adjustment that I did there. And then that's basically the whole white noise sweep at that point. Yeah, I think I covered everything. But yeah, it's a very classic one. You could go crazier. I could go more extreme with the flutter effect. I could do it the other way around, so it slows down and then speeds up. That's where having the beauty of your own control of the white noise sweep comes into play, because you can decide, like, do you want to flutter on it? Do you want it to be fast and then slow, or the other way around? How sharp do you want it to cut off? But this is what I would say is quite a neutral white noise sweep with a bit of interest here and there, you know? So I really like that. And then, you know, I bounced it out and the file looks great. And then I'm ready to, you know, it's already tracked to the grid. So I'm ready to just, you know, I could even just use that much of it, for example, and then I could put that in a transition point just before the drop, or going over to my second section, or throughout my breakdowns to keep the energy moving. You know, there's many different places where I could place it, and like I said, I could just use the first half of it if I want as a little riser, and then cut to silence. That works well sometimes. Or maybe there's a part of my track where I just need where I don't need the riser, but I just want the impact, and I can just have a little impact on top of a kick atmosphere or something like that, you know. So there it is, the white noise sweep. Yeah, nothing overly fun today, maybe. I mean, for me, white noise sweeps are quite fun. Like, I find it quite interesting being able to synthesize that sound yourself that exactly is what helps with the energy shifting in your track, you know? So although it doesn't sound so glamorous on the surface, what the white noise sweep does is wonderful, because it literally works. It works on every single song, and it's because it's white noise. You can't like argue with it. It works on everything, and it's the best way to give you that energy change that all tracks need, you know, and it just will always work. So it's just the most versatile noise that there is. And so because it's so versatile and it works so often and you end up using it so much, that's why it's good to have a full control of using it yourself, you know, and designing it yourself. So you can become pretty proficient at designing white noise sweeps in a few hours. If you just spend a few hours making them, you'll get good at them, and you'll realize what works in a track and what doesn't, and how it blends in smoothly and how it might not. And then you can use that knowledge and you can create your own white noise hits in you can do many different styles, and they will complement your composition, you know, in a creative way as well. So there you have it, my G's. That's the wonderfully white sweep. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. That's it from me today. May I remind you as well, if you want to level up your sound at speed, the best way to do that is to book some production lessons with me. Links for that are down below. Secondly, if you want to be part of a great, supportive and positive community, come on over to my Discord. You can access it via Patreon in the Discord Fireteam tier, and there you can join our feedback live streams as well as our daily chat. Thirdly, if you want Vital presets or Phase Plant presets, I've got many on my website, a current preset pack as well, and they're all really high quality. So I recommend grabbing some of those if you just want some quick and easy inspiration for your music, and you just want to load up some presets and get get straight to the fun part, then grab some of my website. I highly appreciate anyone that does as well. Finally, if you guys want any mixing and mastering work done, just email me at info@artifactmusic.com. It's much better than using AI softwares because I have a better human ear than AI software does. For now, anyway. In the future, that might change, but in my opinion, it's still much better to use a human mastering engineer at this moment in time. And also, if you want me to DJ in a venue near you, you can also email me to arrange that. All right, my Gs, thank you very much for watching my video today. Thanks for all your support on the channel. Make sure you like and subscribe. That's it from me today. More from me soon. Much love.